Welcome to another episode of How to DragonCon. My name is Kong. I will be your guide. To quote Bender Bending Rodriguez, we're back, baby. 2023 was a great con for me, especially in comparison to 2022, and I will go over some of the reasons why. Before I get into that, though, I do want to refer you to two other YouTube channels that I think do a great job of capturing the con. First is the Daily Woo, which is more of a vlogging style. He's been going to different cons and pretty much all geeky events for a long time. So I think it gives you a pretty good, accurate day-to-day look at what the con is like, including the good and the bad. The second one is Justin Cosplay. He somehow managed to go around everywhere to capture some of the most amazing costumes that people had on display this year. I would have missed so many of them if I didn't see them in his video. And all around, he's just a cool guy, so I do look forward to hanging out with him more in future years as well. One more thing, I will have the timestamps and sections down below, so please feel free to skip around. And in case I ramble a little bit too long like last year, definitely don't hesitate to put the speed on 1.5 or 2x just so that you can get through this video a little bit faster. Of course, I am just one person with one set of opinions, so I'd also love to hear what you thought of the con. I do get a sense that a lot of people had a good time this year, so if you're included in that, please share why, what you liked, or if you happen to be on the flip side of that and did not enjoy DragonCon 2023, I would also like to hear why you did not. Finally, if you make it to the end of the video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe. I would love to have 500 subscribers by the time DragonCon 2024 rolls around. I do plan on releasing content on a more regular schedule this year, so please keep a lookout for those updates. All right, let's get into it. The first thing was crowd control. I think this was a big win for the con. The official number that I've seen for this year was 70,000 attendees, which is about a 5,000 jump from the previous year. I will say it felt hardly noticeable, and if anything, I would argue that this year felt less crowded than the previous year. I give the con kudos for having more dedicated security personnel outside of the hotel entrances. I mostly use the Hyatt as my entry point, and I always saw at least 3 or 4 different people, looks like paid professionals, who were making sure that everyone had a badge before entering the hotel. If you entered through the Hilton or the Marriott street levels, I'd really be curious to hear if you saw that much security or if it was just pretty much one person that was guarding the entrance. Of course, the other big thing that they did was putting a heavy emphasis on capping single day badges. I know that before the con, in the week leading into it, they had pretty much sold out of everything except Sunday. I'm not sure if that ended up being sold out as the weekend passed. I will say it made a noticeable difference for pretty much all the attendees that were there, and I hope this is something that they continue to do going forward. Next, the vendor hall line. The consensus seems to be that no matter what time you went, there would be a long time to wait, sometimes stretching over an hour. So let me give you a pro tip that I used. It is a bit of a gamble, but what I did was wait till the end of the day, till about 2 hours left until closing. So that was 5 p.m. on most of the days, and decided to try my luck. Well, when I got there, there was no line whatsoever. Even the volunteers that were outside were joking, "Hey, folks, we're sorry. I know you were expecting a wait, but we don't have any. Go right in." So I was pleasantly surprised. Of course, that does mean that you only have a little over 2 hours to check out the entire vendor hall. So if this is your first time, that might not be the best idea. If you really like to take your time, also probably not the best strategy. But for me, I was able to basically do a speed run through all 4 levels and see pretty much everything that I wanted to. I will also say once I got inside, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of congestion. I was able to move freely between each of the different aisles, and really able to see every table and vendor without feeling like there was too much crowding in front of them. The Hilton Décor. I think this was a big win for hashtag House Hilton. They really went all in on the Mario theme, and I think it paid off. A lot of people probably went there just to check it out and ended up lingering there, which is always good business for the hotel. In the main lobby, they had this setup with a giant Nintendo Switch, as well as cardboard cutouts of Mario and Peach and Bowser. A lot of funny photo opportunities to be had in front. In the back, they also had stickers and big decals on the wall and even a selfie station. So there was plenty around the whole hotel for you to take a look at and take pictures of. And they really got into the fun, geeky vibe that is the con. So I commend the Hilton for doing that. Now let's talk about the Marriott. I feel like this was an inevitable step in the hotels trying to capitalize on the convention as much as they can. What the Marriott did was set up a lot more food and drink stations, which is fine. I certainly can't blame a private business for trying to make more money. The problem was it ended up taking a lot of the footprint in the Marriott itself, especially on the main lobby where everyone likes to hang out and show off their cosplays. If you look on the far side, the back side of the hotel, away from the Sear restaurant and the tunnel going to the Hyatt, that far back side was pretty much taken up by this one drink station, which was charging an absurd $20 for pre-made drinks. And of course, right beside it, they had another mini little setup with drinks as well. So they're really trying to get your money while trying to make sure that you don't congregate and hang out on that backside. And on the other side, closer to the Hyatt, there's a little sliver, a little bit of a walkway under the Pulse Loft, which was completely taken up again by a food station. And if you go below that one level to the main check-in level, there was a big area taken up right by the entrance by a local brewery. So just those four things alone ended up taking a lot of space that people could no longer have to walk around. So I didn't really like that at all. As a note, I don't think I was the only one because I really hardly ever saw a line of people waiting in those venues. So I think hopefully that's a lesson for the hotel to take, to either lessen the number of stations they have or just decrease some of the prices. It was way too pricey for what you were getting. The cosplays, yet another amazing year. I always am in shock of things that people bring, whether it's the creativity or just the hard work and hours that they put into their cosplay. I feel like I'm starting to get jaded at this point after going for over a decade, but I stopped so many times just to really take in some of the work that people have put in because it really is amazing. Of course, to no one's surprise, the most popular costume of the year was any and everything Barbie related. You could see a sea of pink pretty much every day that you went. I did end up going to the photo shoot on Friday morning, which was pretty much chaotic, but I commend the photographers who were leading that because they somehow managed to organize that chaos and make the photo shoot work. I don't think that I'll ever be a part of anything so popular and big again. But hopefully, who knows? Maybe that'll be different and something else so massive, a fandom so massive, will come along in the future. Of course, a close second was from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, especially the Koroks. I knew a lot of people who dressed up from that game themselves, but even outside of that, you really couldn't go too far without seeing some type of reference or costume from Zelda. Next, the arcade. I made it a point to really go check it out this year, and I'm super glad that I did. It's a vast area. It was in the America's Mart Building 3, so right beside where the vendor hall is. When I went on Sunday, there was no wait to get in whatsoever, and once inside, it was just this massive, massive hall. Had all these different sections, whether you wanted to do board gaming, console and PC gaming, or of course the main attraction, in my opinion, which was the arcade. They had a bunch of different ones for you to play. I did spend some time there with some friends. We played some old school games like NBA Jam. Also spent time in a pinball machine, which is not something I do often, but I really had a good time. And I think this whole experience will be something that I make sure that I put into my routine going forward. Okay, kind of a related note in terms of going outside of the main area for Saturday. The last few years have always just been way too crowded for me, so I made an effort this year to stay away from the main three hotels. I ended up starting my day going to the Westin, and to my surprise, not only was there a Starbucks inside, there was no line. So definitely take that as a pro tip if you want your morning coffee and you don't want to wait at the one inside the Marriott, which often will have a line going outside the entrance of the hotel itself. In addition, the Westin just has plenty of seating and room. They also had their own food stations, but it wasn't taking up too much space. It's definitely a nice getaway from the main hotels if you want an escape on Saturday or really any other day. I think it's a good option to go check out. Later in the day, I ended up staying in the Westin to catch a voice actor panel since a lot of the video gaming stuff does happen in that hotel. And this is something that I alluded to in my fun things to do is check out a voice actor panel. I checked one out and it was hilarious. If you get a chance to go to one of these in the future, I highly recommend it. You're going to have a good time laughing your butt off. Let's talk about badge pickup. So typically what the con has said is they will open badge pickup at 10 a.m. Last year, they ended up allowing people to get it sooner. So having that in mind, I went around 9:30 this year. And to my surprise, people were already walking back with a badge in hand. So I knew that they actually started way before 10 o'clock. By the time I got there, from the time I got to the entrance of the artist formerly known as the Sheraton to the time that I got my badge in hand, it was only about 20 minutes. It was moving the whole time. So that was a very pleasant experience. However, I know that it might be different if you go later on Thursday or if you go one of the other days for single badge pickup. So if you experience that, please feel free to share because that's not something that I've ever done myself. And just going back to what I said earlier, remember they sold out of pretty much almost all the single days. So for badge pickup in the future, this is something to keep in mind. You cannot buy it at the door, even if they don't sell out. But odds are this is going to be a trend moving forward. So once the single badge tickets go on sale next year, typically by August-ish is when they go on sale, I would try to grab it as soon as you can, just so that you don't end up missing out on the con experience. Food court edition. So in addition to some of the classic staples such as the Noodle Cafe, Aviva, Cafe Momo, Gus's Fried Chicken, I did notice two new places that were a welcomed addition to the food court, the main food court, which is the hub at Peachtree Center. The first one was Bulgogi, which had two separate areas actually. One was more of a buffet style Chinese takeout place. The other half of the store was more of a poke bowl slash Korean bulgogi bowl where you can customize your own bowl. It was very tasty. I'm really glad they're there. The second option that I'm really thankful for is Saigon Bites. They actually got the location that's right in front of the CVS by the stairs. And they ended up fulfilling one of my long-term wishes for the con, which is to have a boba tea within walking distance. So that is something to keep in mind. I hope both these businesses survive the year because not all the ones in that area do, but I hope they do because I would love to go back to them in 2024. Late night dances. So being the old man that I am, I'm pretty tired by the time those things roll around. Even though some of them start at 8 o'clock, there's just other things that I'd rather be doing. So I ended up asking some friends for feedback, and this is what they told me. One friend said they really enjoyed the bunny hutch and the Can't Stop the Signal dance, which is a kind of a Firefly themed one. Another friend mentioned that they ended up liking the Last Party on Alderaan, Evening in Bree, Zombie Prom, and the Yule Ball. But they did note that some of the DJs, were kind of mid. They didn't exactly have transitions built in. They didn't have the best song choices, but they were more like popular songs that everyone knows. You can sing along to them, kind of dance to them as you wish. So if you're really just looking for like upbeat dance music, I might wait until the 3 a.m. rave. So just keep that in mind if you plan on attending these in the future and temper your expectations accordingly. On a personal note, this was actually the first year that I purposely stayed off site, so not at the host hotels, but somewhere still nearby. It's something that I actually ended up enjoying a lot, and I think I will do in the future. So the reason, even though the trade-off is you do have to walk a little bit further to get to your hotel, not having to deal with crowds, not having to wait on an elevator, get back to your room, certainly not having a noise issue at night when you try to go to bed, like I would when I was at the Hilton and on the lower floors, you would hear the music thumping way past midnight, 1 o'clock, even up to 2 o'clock. So that was not an issue at all if you stay at one of the offsite hotels. I'm going to name a few of the offsite hotels for you to consider because really, unless you've been going for a long time and you have a system in place, it is pretty hard to get a spot in a host hotel. Therefore, you should consider ones like the Indigo, the Ritz, the Ellis, the Aloft, Hyatt Place, and the American Doubletree, just to name a few. They're all just a few extra blocks away from the con, but again, I think that trade-off can be worthwhile just so that you have somewhere still nearby to stay without having to deal with the massive crowds in the lobbies. So because we stayed at an off-site hotel, I probably packed the lightest I ever have. There were no crates, no big tubs of food, just some suitcases and a backpack. We did go to CVS on the first day just to get some essentials and some snacks, and that was enough to hold us over pretty much the whole weekend. All right, to tie everything up, I think DragonCon 2023 was a massive success for me. I had a great time. If you want, you can go check out my Instagram page where I did put all the stories in one of those highlights that's available, and you can see some of the events that I enjoyed. I also do want to give a shout out to any and all of the people who stopped me and said they recognized me from this video, especially Camille and his friends who ended up giving me shots and giving me one of the best Friday nights I've ever had. I think a big reason why I had a good time was because I focused on myself. So it was what I wanted to do, my schedule, my whim that I had in that given hour that I wanted to follow. That's something that I always recommend to people because even though there are 5 days, the time flies by. And if you end up missing something, that's going to dampen your experience. I don't think I even went through the entire schedule on the app until Wednesday of the con. And that's just so that I would have some backup options. What I ended up doing was what I recommend to pretty much everyone. Just have a few things and big goals that you want to accomplish each day, and then pretty much play the rest of the con by ear, just seeing where the night takes you, what you stumble across, and it'll probably be a pretty good time. So there you go. DragonCon 2023 in the books, and it will go down as the best rebound year for me. Again, I would love to hear what kind of experience it was like for you, and if there was anything differently that you will do. I don't think I'm going to change a whole lot for my game plan just because it worked out so well. So I am definitely re-energized about the con, looking forward to 24 already, and I hope to have a lot of useful videos in the next year that will help you have a better time as well. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.